everybody. Welcome back to Sarah's Table. I'm Sarah Moore. My pronouns are she, her, and today I am going to be your host and your GM and your player and your favorite person. And I'm going to remind you to drink water because I guarantee you're dehydrated. Just take a second. Delightful. Hi. Hi, everybody. How are you doing? Today I'm playing a solo RPG called Alone Among the Stars. It is by Takuma Okada, and it is described as a solo role-playing game about exploring fantastic planets. We're going to go to space. It's going to be a treat. You don't need very much at all for it. I'm going to do a quick safety discussion. Obviously, I know where my lines and veils are, and I will not cross them. But I think it's just as important for folks watching at home to know what they are getting into. It is a responsible thing to do. So I want you to remember that here on Sarah's Table, you will never find sexual violence, violence against children, or withholding food as punishment or starvation. I tend to do sort of much more joyful games. Not that I can't be serious, but I think today we're going to have it be a little bit more cozy. I can't promise that, actually. I mean, my intent is for it to be more cozy. So I don't think there will be a lot of violence or anything. This game is not necessarily, it doesn't have a mechanic for combat, so it's not like I'm going to be fighting anything per se, but we are going to be exploring space, and I don't know, space is weird and there's a lot of weird stuff in it, so let's see what happens. This game is 4 pages long, and 1 page is the cover page with really fun pixelated art. You are a solitary adventurer, hopping from planet to planet, exploring. Each world has unique features for you to discover and record. They are represented by cards from a standard deck placed face down. To find a new planet, roll a 6-sided die and place cards face down equal to the number rolled. So those are the entire rules. That's all you need. You need a deck of standard playing cards. Jokers removed, according to a later page in the book of 4 pages, three explanation pages. And so, like always, I am using my deck of cards that I got from, let's see if it'll focus. Oh, they're so pretty. From when I ordered back the Wizard of Oz 5e expansion, which I just got in the mail, and I'm super jazzed about it, but I've had the cards for a while. And then I need a 6-sided die, 1 6-sided die. And I'm going to use one of these fun ones with the liquid core that my oldest child gave me for Christmas this year. And they're real pretty. Look at that swirly. It feels very spacey, but also very magic-y. So I don't really know which one is going to be. Maybe it's both. I get to decide. So what you do after you've made your pile is you you flip over a card to discover something, and you roll a 6-sided die, and on a 1 or a 2, it is arduous to get to. On a 3 or a 4, it comes upon you suddenly. And if it's a 5 or a 6, you spot it as you are resting. And the suit and rank determine the discovery. So in your ship's log, which is a small journal if you have one, but I'm planning on doing this. And, if you've watched me do a solo RPG before, and generally solo RPGs are much more like journaly sort of things. But, space exploration, right? So there's a captain's log. And even though I am alone, I would have a captain's log, which feels very Della Duck from the new DuckTales. I don't know if any of you have watched the new DuckTales, but listen, if you are a child of the 80s, like myself, DuckTales was formative to you. maybe not even the show itself, but like the theme song was like so central to like what being a child sounds like, which is maybe a wild thing to say, but like it was. And then Disney rebooted it and made it a million times better. So if you haven't watched it, like go to Disney Plus and watch DuckTales, please. But Della goes to the moon and she does a bunch of video blogs. And I think that this is how we do it, you know, like Captain's Log, Captain Sarah. Here I am. I'm out here exploring things. I am doing the exploration. I'm putting myself on the line so that you, dear viewer, can stay at home in the safety and comfort of your cozy little house. Perhaps this is tangent day on Sarah's table. You're welcome. So the suit and rank determine the discovery. I'm going to record a short description and my reaction in a few sentences, and then I'm going to roll for the next card. Each time you complete a planet, you give it a number or a name, and you find a new planet. Play until you are tired and want to return home. If you want to remember your travels, save the journal. And if the memories bring you pain, burn it, which I think is a really interesting thought. Like the idea that you're out here exploring theoretically to like expand the knowledge base of perhaps your people or just yourself. And that they have like built into the game a mechanic that you would erase your knowledge of a particular place because it was too painful for you to remember. It's wild. On page 3, it tells you what each suit means. I love how big and easy to read everything is in this game. It makes it really easy. And then on page 4, it tells you what happens for each of the like numerical things on your card. So here we go. I'm going to get started. I do have something to write on. I don't have like a cute little journal. I just have a notebook. Although the notebook does have, let's see what's on it today. Donuts. What? Pink donuts. Just fun. It turns out my brand is strong, no matter what we do. So I'm going to give this a shuffle. I do not want... I don't remember what I did with these last. Maybe it was when I did Gentleman Bandit, which means I was making poker hands. And I want it to be very different. Make sure everything is nice and new. How's everybody doing? Are you having a good Friday night? Just hanging out at home or whenever you're watching this? That's a good question. Just wondering if people watch this on Friday nights or if like this is a video on demand situation. All right. And I've got my D6. Here we go. Find a new planet. I'm ready to find a new planet. Pew, pew, pew. Gonna roll. 6-sided die. Okay. I got 2. This is a very small planet. 1, 2. And then I'm going to flip over a card to discover something. The first thing I discover is a 3 of hearts. Okay. So first, I'm going to roll my 6-sided die to find out how I find it. It is a 5. I spot it while I am resting. Hearts are ruins, mysterious obelisks, vine-covered temples, abandoned dwellings for people bigger than you, a wrecked spaceship, etc. And a 3 is by a gentle river. Okay, so I am here. Captain's log. Sarah's log? Oh, I don't call myself captain. But I am, I guess. Sarah's log. I'm here on this planet, and I have been resting next to a gentle river. This is a situation where I have been sitting here quietly, kind of observing the local flora and fauna, right? I think that there are animals. This is obviously a life sustaining planet. I don't know that the atmosphere is sustaining to me, so I'm still in my spacesuit. If only every planet was like Star Trek, where you definitely could breathe the air. Unfortunately, I don't think that is the truth. So I am safe inside my spacesuit, and there's water here. I'm going to say probably not drinkable. I think the local flora and fauna does not look the way that I would be used to on Earth. And as I'm sort of scanning around, I see what looks like metal glinting off in just like a little bit further into the foliage. And I head over there, and it is a wrecked spaceship. And I think it looks very similar to the one that I am flying right now. Like very, very similar. Yeah, let's get weird with that. I think it is maybe exactly the one that I am flying at this moment. And I'm even going to say that in it is like remains of a body that is roughly my size, wearing basically what I am wearing. But it has been here for years and decayed, and the foliage has sort of grown up through it and around it and sort of like brought it down, breaking it down into the jungle. But I think the patches, though much decayed, match the patches that are on my spacesuit. So, like, I don't know if this is a atmospheric thing that's causing a problem in my brain, hallucinations of some kind, or if this is like a alternate reality. This is what could have happened if I did not land properly, or maybe I'm seeing the future. Like perhaps I will come back to this planet at some point and crash. So I am going to say that obviously, this place is freaking me out a little bit. Let's see about the next one. Okay, I'm rolling. It's a 4. You come upon it suddenly, and it is the Jack of Spades, which is Toto. And I don't feel like I was trying to make this be very Oz inspired, but it does feel like a thing that would happen in like the Land of Oz, right? That you would come across what is maybe yourself. Who knows? So the Jack of Spades. Spades are natural phenomena, huge crystal formations, mirages, vividly colored lightning, strange clouds, rocks eroded in strange shapes, veins of precious metal, etc. And the Jack means that it is in the desert. I think, as I was already in the jungle and I found what I think was maybe me, which is just freaky. I think I hightailed it out of that area. I didn't want to be there anymore. I got back in my ship. I flew until the landscape changed, and I got myself over to a more desert region, sort of far on the other side of the planet. And as I was going, I was trying to talk myself down. This is okay. You are fine. This is not what's happening. You're not going to get stuck on this planet and die. You're not crashing on this planet. You are doing, you know what you're doing. And I get over to the desert. And as I'm going, I think I fly into like a a really intense sandstorm, and it's swirling all around me, and there is really strange colored lightning coming down, sort of pinks and purples and blues, and like it would be really beautiful if it wasn't incredibly difficult to navigate. And so I try to pull up out of it. I am not getting out of my spaceship, even though I think it's probably smarter for me to like find shelter, find cover. I think I'm just like too freaked out, really, to stay put where I'm at. And so I fly myself out and shoot myself out of orbit back into space. And as I'm orbiting, looking down at this planet, I think this is definitely a planet that I don't ever want to come back to. I think it's too, I wouldn't say painful, but like just maybe too frightening with the inevitability of like, of course, I know that at some point I will no longer be alive and I will no longer be able to explore. But I think it's just like, it's too much for me. So I am going to name this planet I'm going to name it NEF, which stands for non-existent future. And I am definitely keeping the files because I think it's a good cautionary tale and I want to make sure that I do not come back here. But I also think that making sure that I have those coordinates like really locked in will ensure me from accidentally coming back at some point. Although, you know, if we have this conversation about like, is there a fate? Does each person have a fate in this world of this game? Is there a fate? Like, and can you avoid it or change it? I don't know. You know, like even looking back on like the Greeks and everything, not being able to change your fate is like a common thread in a lot of those old stories. And so I think this is something that like humankind throughout the course of all of our history has definitely been looking at. Like, if something is supposed to happen for you, can you ever change that with your choices? I don't know. I think when you are in space by yourself, as this person is, as this character is for me, I think that you start thinking about a lot of stuff. And I think that there's a whole, like your brain just goes in a lot of places. And I think that she probably has spent, you know, I think if you're in, there's probably a lot of time in space where you're just not doing anything. Like, of course, you are making sure that your spaceship is, you know, travel worthy and safe. And I think that there's a certain amount of like, you have to, because of the weightlessness or however the gravity works for you, like that you are doing the proper amount of exercise to keep your body correct. And you are, you know, you're working on eating and gathering things and all that stuff. But like, I also think that there are just like long stretches of time where there are nothing to do. And I think the only thing that there is to do is just like ponder your existence. And I think she started out in this really like, you know, I'm gonna write a novel and so when I come back, I'm going to have all of this stuff to show people, not just my exploration notes, my field notes and everything, but like I also, you know, how great, nobody to distract me, right? And I think that fell apart very quickly for her. I think that she started thinking about her own existence and her own wants and her own needs and what is being met and what is not. And like, I think she probably has journals filled with just like her talking to herself, because I think it's a very lonely existence out there. Even the most introverted of introverts, probably you reach a point where you just need people. Um, it feels very much like it's just sort of a commentary on what's going on with the pandemic, right? Like that is one of the reason why people are just like they're like touch starved and they're people starved. And I think that we're probably at that point with her. It's been a long time that she's been out here exploring. I just want to point out that this is not like a part of the game as written. Takuma Okada did not write like, what do you feel existentially in this game? It's really just like find some cool stuff on some planets, which is great. And I love it. But I think that I sort of can't help but build a backstory for my person, even though you don't end up making a character, right? It's not about the character that's doing it. It's about the things that you are finding. But I just think like I'm following where my brain is going. And I don't know. That's what we're doing. Let's find okay, here. Let's find a new planet. Roll gonna die. 5. It's a big one. There's gonna be a lot of things on this planet. 2, 3, 4, 5. I have left NEF in the past. I don't know if you can hear the trains, but oh boy, it's a big one. It's a shake and everything. They're not supposed to blow their whistles around here. It's a quiet zone. And yet, I feel like there's like gotta be a couple of engineers that come through and they see that quiet zone tag and they're just like, I'm gonna hit my whistle. I'm gonna blow it so much. It's usually at 1 o'clock in the morning. Thank you, friends. Here we go. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. We're rolling. Yippee. 2, which means it is arduous to get to the first thing that I am getting to on this new planet. Oh, gosh, it is rough to get to it. Maybe this particular thing is just like this planet is inhospitable. And it is a spades, which, as we have just learned, is a natural phenomena. If you're still here listening to my ramblings, the last natural phenomenon we came onto on this last planet was a giant sandstorm, which we're hoping is not going to be this one. It is a 10. It is a 10 of spades. And so that means it's on a cliff face. And it is, okay, natural phenomena, arduous to get to, on the face of a cliff. This makes a lot of sense. Like, of course, that would be arduous to get to. This new planet, the very first thing that I find are giant crystal formations. And I think they sort of look like faces. Just sort of in the side of this cliff, almost to the point where it looks like I think I'm startled as I'm coming in this valley. That's sort of more of like a crevice than a valley, right? Like I'm sort of landed down here. I figure this is going to keep me nice and safe. This is a thing that will be sort of tucked away. It will be sheltered from the elements and potentially also like if there are predators on the planet, it's hard for me to sort of do as much of a sweep as I would like. This planet doesn't want me to be here. And I think on the face of this cliff, I'm actually I sort of freeze for a moment because it looks like these crystal formations are eyes and they're looking at me in this like sort of glowy green way. And so it just looks like there are a bunch of things watching me. And maybe the planet is watching me. I don't know yet. We're going to find out. Doesn't seem like a fun planet. Oh, more spades. Five. Come upon it while I am resting. And it is a two of spades, which means it is under the light of the moon or moons. I think I get to this planet when it is getting to be late afternoon for what it would be. And I am down in this crevice with these eyes watching me. And it's just like, I don't want to see that anymore. And so I, perhaps foolishly, I spend the rest of the day kind of hiking out of this crevice, and I get myself up to the surface, and I'm very tired. And so I'm resting, and off in the distance, I see what looks like civilization of some kind, some sort of heat distortion, and maybe lights. Could be a trick of the light, could be maybe it's the moon bouncing off of things. There are two moons here, but it looks like what I think I'm recording it as I think it's a mirage. But there's this like curiosity in me that this planet seems so inhospitable, and who could possibly survive here? What kind of people could survive here? So I'm gonna start heading that direction. Let's go. Let's find out. I'm not there yet. Man, I shoveled so good. You all saw it, and we're back to spades. All right. Um, four. You come upon it suddenly, and it is a natural phenomena that is floating in the air. It is a king floating in the air. Focus on the king. I just have to go put it right by my face to get it to focus on it. Hi, everybody. Okay. I'm heading towards what I think is Mirage. I think 50-50. Like, I'm almost convinced that it's Mirage, but then half the time I'm like, I don't know, it really looks like there's something there, right? Like it looks like there are people, and I can almost hear it having like hear the chatter of conversation. But I think that this is not the first time that my brain has filled in that stuff, especially as a lonely person out in space all alone. I think that there are definitely times when I have to remind myself that I am not just like fabricating something so that I am not too alone. Even though it's called Alone Among the Stars, so I clearly am. And as I'm going toward this mirage, it just keeps getting further and further away. And I'm really focused on it. And I find floating in the air like more of these crystal formations. Like above me as I'm walking, I suddenly find myself sort of in, if I was back in space, what I would consider to be like an asteroid field of all of these sort of glowing, floating pieces of crystal in varying sizes. Some of them like the size of houses, huge. Some of them very, very small. I think I grab a couple of the little pieces. This is definitely something like, will it still float when I am out of this atmosphere? Will it be floating on the ship? Will it float in space? Will it continue to glow, or is it from the rays of the moons that make it glow? Or is it like alive and sentient? I don't know. I'm gonna take some. I'm gonna maybe experiment a little bit on it. 5. 5. Tree is you come upon it suddenly. I got the 5 of hearts. I come across some ruins suddenly in a treetop. I think as I'm heading toward this mirage that just keeps getting further and further and further away, and I've made it sort of part of the way through what I think I'm going to keep calling the asteroid field, the crystal stroid field, crystroid field. I like that, the crystroid field. Um, and it's up through like through a forest situation. The forest is sort of growing up around it, and I'm coming through here, and the trees are getting taller and taller and sort of encapsulating these crystroids. And so I want to know what's up there. How far up did the crystroids go? And so I start climbing a tree. It is not terribly difficult, I'm going to say. I think that gravity wise on this planet, things are a little bit, it's not as hard to move around. And so I'm able to make my way up pretty easily. Probably with the assistance of like some little boosts on my spacesuit, just kind of a jetpacky situation, because I can't like not want to be the Rocketeer forever. Rocketeer in space is maybe the parenthetical for this game in my brain. It's a little bit more pulpy, like the pulp leaning of sci-fi. And they get up to the tops of the trees, sort of into that canopy itself, and I'm finding the ruins of dwellings. They look very old. You know, the jungle or the forest is reclaiming them, but there's definitely signs that there used to be a people, a sentient, social set of people who used tools and built their houses sort of into the trees up high. And there's art around, I think. There's some, and all the art centers around these like glowing, floating crystroids. Oh, it's a hard word to say, but it feels correct in my mouth. And there's not really any sign of what happened to them. They're just not there anymore. So it seems like whatever happened was a very sudden, sharp cutoff instead of a gradual dying out or moving. There's too much stuff left behind. And when I say old, I don't mean like thousands of years old. I mean like before I was born, but lifespan wise, I don't know what that would mean on this particular planet. So I think it's only, like 50 years old. So like it didn't happen last week, but it happened in recent memory, in recent history, probably definitely within the lifespan of whatever kind of people lived here. Ace of spades. Back to the spades. Natural phenomenon. In a spot, you spot it as you are resting. And it's in a field taller than you. And it is a natural phenomenon. I think that I am hoping to not disturb the memory of these peoples anymore. I don't want to. I mean, I'm basically standing in what would be considered, I think, maybe like a final resting place, a burial site. Although I don't think anyone was buried per se. But I think that when you get into a place that has, I'm gonna get a little witchy with you. I think that when you get into a place that has had tragedy or loss in it, that you can feel that it like leaves echoes of itself. It leaves ghosts of itself, even if they are not physical ghosts that you could see. It's that like energy feeling of like I should be quiet here and respectful, and I don't want to disturb anything anymore. And so I climb back down and I take a different route back to my ship, or maybe I don't take a different route, but it's I'm looking at it in a different way. And I pass through a field that is the grasses are just insanely tall, so much, probably 2 or 3 times my height. But they're definitely grasses. I can push them aside, and they part easily as I'm going. I'm not terribly comfortable in here. I definitely could come across a predator very easily, and so I am trying to move quietly and with purpose and get back to my ship as safely as possible. And as I am going, I think there's a crystal that is stuck into the ground, and it's the first one that I found that is stuck like down into the ground. I saw them in the sides of the rock, and in the cliff face as I was landing, and then they're floating around, but this one is sort of in the ground, and I think it is being, it's like fighting its way up, like it's sort of shaking, like there's a tension to it as it's coming up, and it is most of the way free. And I put my hand on it, and I think have the impression that perhaps it is what those people became. It feels like a person. It's a presence. And so I sort of take this into account, and I realize that I should not take any of those small pieces of crystaloids. And I very carefully make sure that I have gathered all of them up that I had grabbed earlier, and I release them back, and they float up out. And I think maybe there's even a moment where they pulse with extra light, seemingly in gratitude, perhaps. At least that's how I'm going to be taking it. And as I'm standing there and making sure that I have released all of these extra crystalloid shards, I sort of have the luck, I guess you would call it, to watch this one push up out of the earth and sort of release itself into the atmosphere of the planet, almost like it was being birthed. Perhaps these people sort of figured out how to transcend their sort of fragile humanoid-ish bodies. And now they have become part of the planet in a more, to them, I think, meaningful way, a more sturdy way. And so I get the feeling that I've gotten to see something that maybe not clearly nobody gets to see. Nobody's been here before. But I take a moment and just sort of like take that in and enjoy it, like it a lot. It's good. And I make sure that I'm not taking anything with me. And I get myself back to my ship. And I'm going to name that planet Crystroid. And I'm going to leave it on its way. Um, I think that one would probably spark a little bit of extra contemplation. And I think that there would definitely be a time as I'm looking for my next planet where I would be taking a few extra minutes and really exploring like the fact that I basically thought that the sentient dominant species on that planet were, rocks. They were not people because they didn't look like people, and like sort of taking a moment to explore that in myself and like what my biases and prejudices are and how I can do better when I am getting to other places. I recently watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, and the idea that, in one of the worlds they were rocks, but they still could think and feel and move and talk and ish in a way. Like I think that has seeped in there, right? Like your perceptions of things are so important to you as a person, and how can you do better? Do better. Okay. I think we have time. Let's do one more planet. Let's do one more planet. Gonna roll. BBB. 6. Lots of stuff on this planet. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. We're going. The first one is an 8 of clubs. And I come upon it suddenly. And clubs, which we haven't seen yet, are plants and other immobile forms of life. The examples they give are towering trees, carnivorous pitchers, giant ferns, glowing weeds, floating flowers, oozing mushrooms, etc. Those all sound terrible. I mean, cool. But most of them sound like they would definitely hurt you. And an 8 of clubs means that I found it on a glacier. This new planet, I land in a very icy region. It's maybe like one of the poles. I'm there at a polar place, and I think that on this polar, snowy, very cold place, that there are supply. I think that there are like, if you don't look close enough, that you think that they are just like little ice sculptures, but in reality, they are some kind of plant that is very hardy and has the appearance of like the ice around it. Very, very blue, white, frosty looking. I think I do a quick analysis on one and I discover that it is not going to be poisonous to me. And I think I'm feeling adventurous and I taste it. And I think that it is like a very sort of minty, refreshing feeling. And it gets me like, makes me feel almost like I've had a big cup of coffee, like a shot of caffeine. And so I gather some more of that, knowing that I'd like to be on this planet for a while. And I think it was right next to my ship, and I am ready to go. I'm ready to see what's next. And perhaps my perception is a bit skewed now, because it's definitely a stimulant that I just ate, for sure. So it's alien stimulant. Good job, Sarah. Hey, we got diamonds. 9 of diamonds. Diamonds are living beings, people like or unlike you, fish, dinosaurs, wolves, birds, giant insects, etc. 1 is arduous to get to. Yeah, you know what? I have this strange idea because I am maybe altered by local flora that I want to explore, the water around this polar region. And in my spacesuit, it's the future. We have like solo space exploration. And I think that, what's up, sci-fi? So I think that I definitely can go into the water safely, test the water, make sure it's not some sort of strange acidity that would eat away at my spacesuit. But I can go in there, and my breather is already set to keep me safe from this particular planet. Anyway, so I sort of just like dive in head first. Maybe not the smartest thing, but I think I've been alone long enough that I have started taking risks that I would not normally take. So I go into the water, and there's like just really giant whale-like creatures, far big, like dinosaur big, ancient megalodon kind of big. And they are living in groups, in pods, in social structures. And they don't use tools or anything. So it's definitely an animal. But they all seem to have specific roles within, and watching and observing. And maybe I even stay here for a while, I get to see, that there's ones raising the young, and that there are ones that are protecting the group, and there are ones that are bringing back food. I think I probably stay down there longer than I should stay down there, because I took alien drugs and I went down. I just wanted to, as a general disclaimer, here on Sarah's Table, we do not encourage you to find random things on the ground and eat them. Do not subscribe to the Skyrim example of, I don't know what this does, so I'll just eat it. Don't do that in real life. It is bad for you. Just don't eat things out in nature unless you know for sure what it is. And so I've been observing these guys, and I come back up to the surface. And I think I have a little bit of a problem when I get out of the water. It adjusts, I have to adjust to moving around again, not being held up by the buoyancy of this liquid. And then also, it's really cold. It's the polar regions, and I am not built to not be warm. I'm a warm-blooded person. And so, I think I spent too much time down there. I am all of the drugs I've worn off. And so I get back into my spaceship, and I spend some time recovering and heating up and writing about what I have learned about this structure of this pod of creatures. And the next thing that I look at is also arduous to get to, also difficult to get to. And maybe it's because I'm freezing. very cold, I'm warming myself up. I am getting back into it. God, I just like neglected to feed myself properly because of what I thought was just like a little shot of caffeine and probably was not. Um, so I got some clubs, a 10 of clubs, which means that I find something on a cliff face and it is a plant or other immobile forms of life. And clearly, this planet has like um flora that alters your perceptions of things and your body chemistry. And I'm very clearly making bad choices and I'm going to eat whatever it is that I find. I definitely am. I don't know what it's going to do for me, but we're going to find out. I decide to move down away from the poles because it is too cold there, and I would like to try to get myself to a place where it's a little bit warmer. I head down towards like the equator, so it's nice and warm. And there is an area that has just like a huge cliff, and I land next to that cliff, and I climb around a little bit on it. And I find what looks like a more of like a Venus flytrap situation. Big, not big enough to eat me. Maybe big enough to eat like one of my like a hand or something were I to attempt to feed it. Sounds like a weird thing to say, but it's where my brain is. So that is good. It's large enough to encompass my hand, which is big for a Venus flytrap, but that sort of a thing. And it is like oozing stuff. I didn't think this episode was going to get gross like this, but it is. It's like oozing things out of it. Smells great. Smells like spicy a little bit. But also sweet, like a hot honey, you know? And so I just use it to sort of spice up the rations that I'm eating, which, as everyone knows, is a really smart thing to do. I just found some goo. I spread it on my bread. I ate it. Boop, 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 boop. Although, I mean, like the first people who thought I should eat this honey out of a hive, like they probably also were what I would like to call, explorers. So I'm giving it a shot. This is my MO. It's delicious. It tastes really, really good. I harvest some as the effects are kicking in, and I think it's very sort of hallucinogenic in nature. And I think it starts in a way that I don't realize that it is hallucinogenic in nature. And then, because you're on an alien planet, and like you might be seeing all of the things that happen, but things are sort of growing in a weird way around me. Acceleration, time dilation. Luckily, I'm at the bottom of the cliff when all of these things happen. So let's see what happens next. Hearts are ruins. I suddenly come upon oh no. Well, I don't know how I got here, but I suddenly come upon some ruins of some kind deep underground. Okay, deep underground. Here we go. I think I'm like tripping on Venus flytrap ooze. Should come up with a better name for that. But like, I think that at the moment, my brain does not find something because I'm hallucinating. And I follow this hallucination down into like, oh gosh, who knows? Maybe there's some sort of a tunnel, and I am now coming out of this hallucination, and everything's sort of coming back down. The waves are coming less and less for me, and I am at the base of a giant obelisk that has carvings on it. And I don't know how I ended up in this huge cavern, but I am in a cave system underground. And this obelisk was very clearly, perhaps the original structure of it was a stalactite, stalagmite situation, but there were definitely peoples here, or maybe still are people here who have carved into this obelisk a bunch of symbols. It's probably not the best thing for me to be here, but we're gonna keep going. I got what? More plants. It's clubs, more plants, and arduous to get to. I think I'm just like hanging out on this planet, like searching for the people that made the carvings into this obelisk and like chiseled the obelisk to have, these like sharp 90-degree angles, because like that's just not something that happens in nature. And yet again, we're going to go someplace and I'm going to find another plant and I'm gonna eat it. Should I eat it? No, I think I should not eat it. But you know what? I'm gonna eat it. Okay, here we go. And it says it's a 6 of clubs. And so it is on the snowy peak of a mountain. I have been here long enough to travel all over this planet. I am looking for these people. The people have to be here somewhere. These beings that chiseled this into this stone, I gotta find them. And so I have probably been here for months. And I would bet that they know I am here and are avoiding me because I'm like this crazy alien that is eating all of their plants that are like probably ones that you're supposed to stay away from. And I've made it to a mountain range and I've gotten myself to the top of this mountain range. And I find some flowering trees. And the flowering trees, as I walk by them, sort of like poof out like pollen, this dust that coats everything. And I think that this dust tastes sort of like sour, like the outside of like a Sour Patch Kid candy, like a sour candy. And I have been here long enough that I know how long I can be exposed to the elements. I could take off my spacesuit. It's breathable air for me. I've analyzed everything and I sort of like taste it. I think that I've been here long enough that the atmosphere is making changes to my anatomy, to my physiology, not my anatomy. But like I am adapting to live on this planet. And I sort of like, I taste that. And I start feeling some pain in my back, like middle of my back. But it's not enough for me to have like a big problem with it. And it starts, I like radiating from the center of my back. But like, I don't want to leave this field, this grove of trees that have all the flowers and they're like poofing and like, they just keep puffing out. And I keep eating it. I just keep eating it. Having a weird time on this planet. Um, okay, here we go. King of Diamonds. You come upon it suddenly. I rolled a 4, and diamonds are living beings, and the king is floating in the air. And I think that the path that this has led for me is that I have been exploring on the ground for, I went deep, I went underground, I went in the water, in the oceans, I went all on the surface of the planet, and I went up to the top of the mountain, the highest mountain. And I think that the pain in my back is me developing wings. And I think that what happened is that the planet gave me all these offerings to adjust how my body reacts to things. And, the fact that I no longer need my spacesuit to survive on this planet is in itself a little troubling. And if I had been in a better state of mind and more stable, sound state of mind, I think that I would have noticed far earlier that this is now, I'm being irrevocably changed by being out on the surface and eating everything from the surface. I've stopped eating the rations that I have back on the ship, and now I'm only eating local flora and fauna. And it is just adjusting my whole self. And I think that I have grown wings. It takes a little bit of time to grow wings. And one day, when I'm in the middle of this transition, this creature, this winged being, comes down and talks to me like directly into my brain in a way that I can understand, and sort of welcomes me to their society. And I now have the choice of staying here or trying to get myself back into my spacesuit, which is definitely not made for a person with wings, and continuing to explore. And I think that the name of this planet is home. And I think that I become acclimated, and it become a part of this society. Which again, I don't think is what was intended for this game, but I feel like that is where the story for her goes. However, I think that there are two ways that this could go on. If I wanted to continue this game, I had said that was going to be the last planet that I did. Cool. For today's session. If I wanted to start up this game again, continue on with my video blogs, do all that stuff. And I wanted to continue with the same character. I think that because the first thing that I did when I got to this planet was eat something, that this absolutely could have just been like one long, wild drug trip. And that I would come to basically right when I started. Instead of like years perhaps later of being on this planet and like exploring everything. There's this weird kind of like time dilation situation with whatever it is that I ate very first. So I could continue it on with them. But I think it's the planet essentially like terraformed me. It like forced my evolution in a much faster way. And I think that I found a home for this character that maybe she was looking for the whole time and didn't realize it. And I don't know if she's happy. Maybe she is. Maybe she's certainly not alone anymore, which is a good thing for her, I think. Uh, yeah. So that is Alone Among the Stars by Takuma Okada. Um, it is very freeform. It is incredibly narrative in the way that you want to do it. It is originally designed, like I said, to be to be where you would be journaling this all out. And as I was making these choices and these discoveries, I feel like it could be a very cool sort of journaling exercise. You could absolutely spend a ton of time, figuring out where you are on each planet. And depending on what you roll, like there could just be one thing that happens on that planet, and then you're like, I'm bouncing. And so if you wanted to do a thing like that, this could absolutely be one where you sort of use it as a writing prompt for your home game. If you need something, you could just sort of roll up like, this is what happens when an adventurer comes to this area. Or you could use it just like to let your creativity out a bit. I really had a good time doing it at this story crafting. Like I filled in a lot more than was necessary for the game, but I liked putting this story together for me. Yeah. So thank you, Takuma Okada, for making this game and allowing me to explore space in a weird, pulpy way. So next week, here on Sarah's Table, we are going to be doing something called Dead After Dinner. It is a 4-player GM-less game where you use cards, written by Jennifer Martin, and she will be on the show with me. I'm very excited about that. And then the week after, we are going to be playing Chew, which is based on a comic book where you are a zombie. I think you're like a zombie-like creature. I'm fairly certain that you are like just full zombie, and you are a private investigator, and you're able to like find out about your victims and things by eating parts of them. It's gonna be weird. But it's based on the comic Chew. And we have Pete Patricia coming on, who is one of the designers, and a friend of mine. Jennifer and Peter, both friends of mine. And I'm so lucky and spoiled that I know these amazing designers and people, and that they are going to come on and let me play in the worlds that they have created. And I don't know what happens next. We are in the process of finishing up The Vanishing Lands, which is written by my partner with some input from me, but mostly it's him being amazing, Jeff Moore. And I'm hoping to do a several episode arc here on that when we are ready to release, which will be so soon, next couple of months for sure. And I will let you know. I will keep you updated on that. Work continues on The Crowned. We are adding so many wonders and so many cool bestiary entries, and working on modules for you to use. And still very much on track with cool new art, and we will be getting that out. We're hoping that I'm not going to give a timeline. I'm not, because every time I give a timeline, something changes. So soon, question mark, by, we are hoping to have things to you as soon as possible. How about that? I'm going to say that, as soon as possible. And I just have a lot of other crazy stuff swirling around in my brain, and I am excited to get it out and make it released into the world. If you would like to find me in other places, you can find me on Facebook at Actor Sarah Moore. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and Ko-Fi and TikTok. And I think I have a Hive, and I think I have a Mastodon maybe at Pixies and Pins, which are all of my stuff. You can go to my website at pixiesandpins.com. And I hopefully, we'll continue to have really cool stuff coming up on the 24th, which is this coming Tuesday. I'm running a game of Sexy Battle Wizards by Grant Howitt, and it is going to be a charity game for the Trevor Project, because I know that there's during Pride Month, a lot of queer organizations get a lot of spotlight, but I am queer all year round, and so I wanted to give a little boost. Trevor Project, for those of you who don't know it, is a 24-hour national free suicide prevention hotline centered around queer and trans youth, and I think that's really important. I think it's what I want to do always is create a safe environment where people feel comfortable and safe talking about their needs and their wants, which is one of the reasons why I am so strict about making sure that I have a safety discussion all the time. Safety is important to people, and the world is a better place with you in it. So if you ever need anything, you can reach out to the Trevor Project. And if you are in a place where you feel like you have disposable income, please donate to this wonderful cause. I will make sure that all of the information is on all of my socials and my website and all of that stuff. And the link, I believe, is live now, and I will put it in the chat right now so that you can donate. Thanks so much. Thank you to everybody for coming along on this strange, solitary space exploration with me. Thank you to my partner, Jeff, for editing this. Oh, there's a lot of editing this week, but he puts my pretty overlays on it, and he makes sure that I'm looking in the right spot. Pew, 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 pew. And thank you to Marcus Mays for hitting that go button and being my tech over at Gen Con TV. And thank you to Gen Con for giving me this platform to spotlight indie RPGs, and for trusting me to do things like this fundraiser, which I basically just messaged them and said, I'm really want to do this. And they said, hey, run with it. And I really appreciate that. Yeah. I'm sure that I could thank more people. Thank you at home. And thank you, folks who are going to be on my show soon. Hey, if there's anybody who's interested in being a guest on here with their game, please contact me on socials and let me know. I am always looking for cool new indie games. And say if you are a streamer and you are interested in being a guest player on my show, you can also message me, because we are full of joy and love and rainbows here, and I would love to spread it around. So again, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. As always, keep making art and keep being art. We will see you next time. Mwah.